Good afternoon. Welcome to our press conference. Questions, please. CCTV. President Xi Jinping introduced the Global Civilization Initiative at the CPC in dialogue with world political parties high-level meeting on March the 15th. Could you offer more information? On March the 15th, in Beijing, General Secretary of the CPC Central Committee and President Xi Jinping attended the CPC in dialogue with world political parties high-level meeting and delivered a keynote address entitled Join Hands on the Path Towards Modernization. He elaborated on the CPC's understanding of exploring path towards modernization, proposed the GCI, and expressed the CPC's readiness to work with other political parties to advance modernization with distinct national features, promote inter-civilization exchange and mutual learning, and build a community with a shared future for mankind. This shows the CPC's political courage and sense of responsibility to rise to the common challenges facing humanity and contributes China's solutions to advancing global modernization and human civilizations. General Secretary Xi said that as the future of all countries are closely connected, tolerance, coexistence, exchange, and mutual learning among different civilizations play an important role in advancing humanity's modernization. We advocate the respect for the diversity of civilizations, the common values of humanity, the importance of inheritance and the innovation of civilizations, and a robust international people-to-people exchange and cooperation. We are ready to work with the international community to open up a new prospect of enhanced exchange and understanding among different peoples and better interactions and integration of diversified cultures. The GCI is yet another important public good China has shared with the world in the new era after the Global Development Initiative, the GDI, and the Global Security Initiative, the GSI, aimed at promoting inter-civilization exchange and mutual learning and advancing human civilizations. The GCI will inject strong impetus into advancing modernization and building a community with a shared future for mankind. The initiative has been warmly received. People in many countries said that it will give a strong boost to exchange and mutual learning among civilizations and advance modernization. The three initiatives shows that China has always been a force for world peace, a contributor to global development, a defender of international order, and promoter of progress of human civilizations. We remain committed to our mission of seeking progress for humanity and harmony for the entire world. Chinese modernization as a new form of human advancement will draw upon the merits of other civilizations. When China and the rest of the world join hands on the path towards modernization in the new era, it will surely make new and greater contribution to promoting peace and development and building a community with a shared future for mankind. Next one, please.
韩联社记者。
谢谢发言人。据报道，朝鲜。
Yonhap News Agency. The DPRK reportedly launched a ballistic missile, which is suspected to be a ballistic missile. So, into the eastern waters today, what's your comment on that?
We note the reports recently the U.S. and some other countries have staged large-scale military exercises in the region, stepped up the frequency of sorties of strategic weapons, and made arrangements to transfer nuclear submarines to another country. The impact of these developments on the Korean Peninsula situation is cause for concern. What the Korean Peninsula situation needs right now is efforts to bring down the temperature instead of fueling the flame. Parties should stick to political settlement direction and return to the track of easing tensions and resuming dialogue. Next one, please.
TASS News Agency. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Grishko revealed that the agreement on the transport of grain through the Black Sea was extended by 60 days. In accordance with the previous conditions, he stressed that the package agreement now has two parts, including the transport of Ukrainian agricultural products via the Black Sea and the normalization of Russian grain and fertilizer exports. He said that the Russian side hopes that within 60 days, the parties to the agreement will be able to facilitate normalization of Russian grain and fertilizer exports. What's your comment?
The Black Sea Green Initiative is an important arrangement reached between the UN and Russia, Turkey, and Ukraine through repeated consultation. China hopes the initiative can be implemented in a balanced, comprehensive, and effective manner. We have put forward the cooperation initiative on global food security and would like to strengthen communication and cooperation with all parties over this to build up international world food security. Next one, please.
谢谢发言人。公董下提问。
Kyoto News. According to reports, ROK President visited Japan and will have a meeting with the Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida to talk about normalization of relations. This would be a visit that would resume the head of state exchange. I wonder what's your comment on that?
As a close neighbor of both Japan and the ROK, we have noted the recent interactions and the changes in relations between the two countries. Japanese militarism's aggression and colonial rule once brought untold suffering to Asian countries, including China and the ROK. The past, if not forgotten, can guide us in the future. We always ask Japan to soberly reflect on its history of aggression and in an honest and responsible attitude properly handle historical issues, and on this basis develop normal relations with Asian neighbors. China, Japan, and ROK are each other's important trade partners. To keep regional and global industrial supply chain stable and unfettered serves the interests of all three parties and the region. We oppose certain countries' attempt to form exclusive circles and hope Japan and ROK relations can move forward in a way conducive to regional peace, stability, and prosperity.
Global Times. The statistics released by the FBI showed hate crimes incidents increased 11.6% from 8,120 in 2020 to 9,065 in 2021 and involved 12,411 victims, hitting a record high. Up to 64.5% of victims were targeted because of the offender's race, ethnicity, ancestry bias. What's your comment? The numbers you cited are shocking. But the worsening hate crimes only represent the tip of the iceberg of systemic racism and human rights issues in the U.S. In fact, in a country that claims all men are created equal, white supremacy and xenophobia are still spreading. Ethnic minorities, including the indigenous community, people of African nation and Latin descent, and Muslims have long endured widespread and systemic discrimination. Among all ethnic groups in the U.S., Native Americans have the shortest life expectancy and the highest poverty rate. African Americans lag far behind white Americans in terms of wealth, health, education, and racial justice. In 2021, hate crimes targeting people of Asian descent soared by 339% compared to that of 2020. 63% of Asian Americans believe violence against the Asian community is still on the rise. Latin Americans, representing 19% of the total U.S. population, own only 2% of the wealth, and 75% of Muslim adults in the U.S. believe they are subject to discrimination due to their religious belief. The U.S. government professes that it will defend everyone's human rights. We wonder if George Floyd, whose neck was knelt on, included. Are the record number of victims of hate crimes included, and are the 2,337 American people killed by gun violence this year included? The U.S. zooms out when viewing its own human rights issues, while zooms in when criticizing others' human rights conditions, overtly practicing double standards on human rights. We want to remind the U.S. that human rights issues can be found right at home. What the U.S. government needs to do is immediately start working on the aggravating human rights issues like racial discrimination, hate crimes, gun violence, and drug-related crimes, rather than profess the respect and protection of human rights under the cover of a human rights preacher. Next one, please.
路透社记者提问：我有2个问题。
Reuters, I have two questions. First, Taiwanese Foreign Ministry warned Honduras that it should not be lured, despite the fact that it is facing personnel told that the U.S. has warned the Chinese owners of the shares to sell the shares or would face risks of ban in the U.S. What's your comment? Could you please repeat the question? First, Taiwanese Foreign Ministry warned Honduras not to be lured by China's financial aid. What is your comment on that? And secondly, a spokesperson of TikTok told Reuters that the Biden administration asked ByteDance to sell its share or would face ban in the U.S. What's your comment?
To
answer your first question, the One China principle is the political premise and foundation of diplomatic relations between China and other countries. In recent years, countries like Panama, Salvador, the Dominican Republic, and Nicaragua have all resumed or established diplomatic relations with China. Afterwards, practical cooperation have rapidly developed and boosted the socio-economic development of relevant countries and delivering tangible benefits to the peoples. On the basis of the One China principle, China stands ready to develop friendly, cooperative relations with all countries, including Honduras. We believe this will create more opportunities for Honduras' economic development and its efforts to improve people's livelihood. I would like to point out that Taiwan is an inalienable part of China's territory. The DPP's stubborn position on Taiwan independence will end up in failure. On data security, we are opposed to China always believes that data security should not be used by a certain country to abuse the national security concept and state power to hobble foreign companies. The U.S. has yet to prove with evidence that TikTok threatens its national security. It should stop spreading disinformation about data security, stop suppressing relevant companies, and provide an open, fair, just, and non-discriminatory environment for foreign businesses to invest and operate in the U.S. Next one, please. China Daily. As we speak, the Chinese Foreign Ministry Special Envoy for Horn of African Affairs, Xue Bing, is visiting Ethiopia and the African Union. At the same time, U.S. Secretary Blinken is also in Ethiopia. How do you see international cooperation with the Horn of Africa? Currently, Ethiopia is in a crucial stage of restoring peace and focusing on development. We believe that countries should all take concrete actions to help promote its development and promote regional peace, rather than arbitrarily resort to sanctions or coercion or interference under the pretext of addressing hotspot issues. The Chinese Special Envoy's visit, one task of the visit is to keep up close communication with regional countries on implementing the Initiative for Peace and Development in the Horn of Africa and supporting regional countries in realizing development through solidarity and prosperity and stability. We will work with the world to help turn the Horn of Africa into a region of peace, cooperation, and common development.
AFP, another question about Honduras. Honduran Foreign Minister said that Honduras wants to establish or to sever diplomatic ties with Taiwan because the latter was reluctant to increase its financial aid. I wonder what assistance will China provide for the country?
While answering the Reuters question, I already addressed this. On the basis of the One China principle, China stands ready to grow friendly cooperative relations with all countries, including Honduras. We believe this will create more opportunities for Honduras' economic development and efforts to better people's welfare. Next one, please.
Reuters, 2 questions. First, the Japanese Coast Guard said that China's ship illegally entered Japan's territorial sea near the Diaoyu Island. What is your comment? And according to Reuters, China vetoed a UNSC conference on DPRK's human rights. I wonder what is your response? Could you please repeat your second question? According to Reuters, China vetoed an informal session in the UNSC about DPRK's human rights. What's your comment?
On your first question, the Diaoyu Dao and its adjacent islands and reefs are China's inherent territory. Japanese right when fishing boats illegally intruded in Diaoyu Dao territorial sea. That is a grave violation of China's sovereignty. The Chinese Coast Guard ship's lawful law enforcement actions is a legitimate measure to safeguard our sovereignty. On your second question, not long ago, State Councilor Qin Gang delivered an address and put forward China's proposals at the UN Human Rights Council's 52nd meeting high-level segment, and I would refer you to what they said. The Security Council is a core institute for international peace and security. It's not the right venue to discuss human rights issues. Still less should it become a tool of a certain country to smear other countries and serve their political purposes. The Korean Peninsula situation is highly sensitive. The main reason is that the U.S. refused to respond to the DPRK's denuclearization measures and have instead stepped up pressure and deterrence. We hope Security Council members will fulfill their responsibilities and play a constructive role in the political settlement and peace and stability on the peninsula. Next one, please.
Again, do you have any update on President Xi Jinping's visit to Russia next week? Especially what day is he going and what are China's expectations for this visit? Thank you.
We answered this question a few days ago. I will refer you to that answer. Next one, please.
AFP, another question about Japan and the ROK. The two countries announced that Japan will remove semiconductor material export ban. At the same time, the ROK will remove relevant complaints it issued in the WTO. What's your comment on that?
Just now I talked about China's position on recent developments in Japan-ROK relations. I would like to reiterate that we demand that Japan reflect on its history of aggression and properly handle historical issues with honesty and responsibility, and on this basis develop normal relations with its Asian neighbors. We hope Japan-ROK relations can move forward in a way that is conducive to regional peace, stability and prosperity. Next one, please.
Reuters. The U.S. government recently sued Guo Wengui for fraud. What's your comment on that? And Canadian Prime Minister appointed its Governor General as the person in charge of investigation into China's so-called interference. What is your comment?
你提到的第一个问题。
On your first question, I'm not aware of the relevant situation. On your second question, we are consistently opposed to interference by any country in other countries' internal affairs. We have no interest in and will not interfere in Canada's internal affairs. The Canadian side should stop making irresponsible remarks.
其他的问题。
Any other question?
没有的话，今天的记者会到此结束，谢谢。
That's all for today. Thank you.